Let's start with a comforting lie you probably tell yourself. You think survival is about the big moment, the flash of steel, the loud bang, the heroic stand. It's a fantasy. Real survival, the kind that matters, is not an event. It's a state of being. It's a cold, wet, boring, terrifying, mind-numbing, day-after-day grind, where the biggest enemy isn't the threat outside, but the slow decay of your own will inside. To understand this, we need to visit the masterclass in miserable endurance, the trenches of the Western Front in World War I. Men lived in holes in the ground for years, under constant threat, in filth, with death as a neighbor. And from that unimaginable static hell, they forged survival tricks that were never about winning. They were about not losing for one more day. This is the trench mindset. And if you think your prepared homestead would be a fun adventure when the grid goes down, you are about to be painfully educated. First, let's crush your romantic prepper fantasy right now. You've stockpiled beans and bullets. Great. Have you stockpiled the mental fortitude to listen to your child cough for the 10th night in a row in a dark, cold house? Have you stockpiled the discipline to follow a boring, critical routine for the 100th day in a row when nothing seems to be happening? No? Then your beans are just a delayed death sentence. The trench soldier knew his enemy wasn't just across no man's land. His enemy was the mud, the rats, the cold, his own bowels, and the creeping void in his own mind. Your enemy in a long-term collapse will be identical. So let's talk real secrets. Secret number 1, sanitation. Discipline, or your latrine, is your lifeline. In the trenches, disease killed more men than machine guns. Typhoid, cholera, trench foot. The difference between a living soldier and a dying one was often a simple, relentless adherence to rules about waste. They had designated latrines, deep and far from living quarters. They had strict orders about not relieving themselves in the trench. It was about managing the microscopic, not the monumental. So let me ask you, the mighty prepper with your fancy water filter. What is your human waste plan for month 2 of a grid-down scenario? Your toilet doesn't flush. Are you just going to crap in a bucket in your garage and throw it out the window? You'll be dead of dysentery in a month, and your family will follow, all because you were too busy playing with night vision goggles to think about where you'd put your own excrement. The trench mindset fixes this. It says you will dig a proper, deep pit latrine far from your water source, with lime or ash for covering before you even think about tactical drills. It says hygiene is not a comfort. It is the primary defensive operation. Your first line of defense is a bar of soap and a shovel, not a bullet. All right, a moment of levity in our descent into mud. What's the difference between a modern prepper and a trench soldier? The soldier knew he was in hell. The prepper thinks he's going to a themed party called Hell. He's got the costume, but he didn't read the rules of the venue, and the venue rules are written in cholera and despair. Secret number 2, sound and light lockdown. In the trench, showing a light at night or making the wrong sound was a death sentence. It would draw a sniper's bullet or a mortar barrage. This created a hyper-awareness of personal and environmental signature. They learned to move silently in the mud, to cover coughs, to use periscopes instead of exposing their heads. They communicated in whispers and hand signals. Now look at your plan. You've got generators? Congratulations, you are a loud, bright beacon saying, "I have things, come take them," to everyone in the sensory-deprived darkness. The trench mindset demands you think in terms of emissions control. Can you cook without a giant plume of smoke? Can you light your home without turning it into a lantern? Can you move around your property at night without sounding like a marching band? This means prioritizing silent battery power over generators, using blackout curtains, learning to cook with retained heat methods, and understanding that the most powerful weapon you have after dark is the absolute perfect void you project to the outside world. Stealth isn't for raiding, it's for existing without becoming a target. Now, the most important secret, the one that truly separated the living from the walking dead in those holes. Secret number 3, the Ration of Hope. This was the psychological hack. In an environment designed to crush spirit, men learned to microdose hope. It wasn't, "the war will end soon." That was a lie that led to madness when it proved false. It was small, concrete, immediate. The hope was for a dry pair of socks delivered that night. The hope was for the rum ration at stand to. The hope was for a letter from home. They rationed hope like a precious commodity because it was. They focused on the next minute, the next hour, the next tiny task. Your prepper fantasy is probably the big hope. When this is over, things will go back to normal. That hope will break you. The trench mindset says your hope must be granular and procedural. Today's hope is that the water filter doesn't clog. Tonight's hope is that the solar battery maintains charge. This week's hope is that the spinach seeds sprout. You chain these tiny, manageable hopes together to build a bridge across the infinite abyss of what if this never ends. You are not surviving until the crisis is over. You are surviving until tomorrow's sunrise. And then you do it again. It is profoundly unglamorous. It is the only thing that works. So how do you build this trench mindset? You audit your preparations not for glory, but for misery management. You trade some cool gear for more boring, critical infrastructure, sanitation supplies, quiet power, light discipline materials, and routines that preserve mental health. You drill not in clearing rooms, but in executing your daily water gathering, waste disposal, and security check routines flawlessly and silently, in the dark, while tired and cold. You accept that survival is a degrading, demoralizing grind, and you prepare for that grind the way a trench soldier prepared his firing step. Because holding that line, that miserable, muddy, terrible line, is the only thing that keeps the world from falling in on top of the people you love. Your homestead isn't a fortress, it's a trench line. Start thinking like you're holding the line, not conquering the field. The goal is to be there, alive and sane, when the long, quiet dawn finally breaks. Everything else is just noise.